Are you ready to learn how to become an amazing virtual assistant when it comes to working with your client? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai. I run a virtual assistant agency here in the Philippines called 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, when it comes to becoming a virtual assistant, most of that is going to be your hard skills. It's going to be you creating a really good resume, your application letter. It's applying to a lot of different jobs, and it is also showing up as your skill of who you are. But to maintain basically being a virtual assistant, of being able to do this long term, of becoming an amazing virtual assistant, it starts with you. So I want to dive into different things and different ways you can think of yourself so you can keep developing yourself as you now have hopefully a job as a virtual assistant, or that you are just starting out, you have no idea what a virtual assistant day-to-day looks like. I want to walk you through what that would be. So the first thing of how to become an amazing virtual assistant is to take care of yourself. Now, I am a huge proponent of this in my own business, where I talk about that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're going to work with your client, if you're going to show up every single day and doing the best that you can, you have to take care of yourself first. So making sure that you are having a good night's rest, that you have habits where you can walk around or you can work out a little bit, where you have habits where you are eating good food. And I know that's not always the easiest thing. As someone who does work from home, it can be very tempting to just get things delivered, to not cook at all, or to just eat whatever's in front of you. But it's also keeping in mind that you have to take care of your own body so you can take care of everyone else. It's also all about making sure that you keep yourself organized, that you know where things are at for yourself, for your life, so they can easily reflect into the work that you do with your client. It's also taking care of yourself in making sure that you put in days off and making sure that you don't overwork yourself, because you have to think about this for the long run. It can't just be like, oh, I'm a virtual assistant for a year because I burnt myself out at the end of the year. You want to make sure that this is a long-term career for you, and to do that, you have to take care of yourself. Next is you need to know your boundaries. Now, one of the things, or something that I came across with actually the last couple of weeks, is something called creating your personal user guide. What this is you're writing up basically how it is to work with you for your clients. So it's knowing your own boundaries of like, hey, if it's on a weekend, I probably won't respond. I'll get to it right first on Monday. Or, hey, I need to sleep, so if you want me to be up this late, I might start my shift later the next day. Or it could be like, hey, I know this is the way that I like communicating. What would be yours? How can we match this? How can we find the middle ground? Or like, hey, I'm usually spending time with my family here. I'll get back to it as soon as I can. So it's making sure that you're putting in the boundaries of, again, it goes back to taking care of yourself, of not letting other people walk on you basically and letting them just guide or pull your life wherever they want to. It's setting the boundaries of what are your own limits, and as well as like, what are the things that you're willing to compromise for? What are the things that are okay with you? And deciding that early on, rather than having in a situation where life is kind of deciding for you, dragging you along. You've intentionally put on the things of like, okay, I'll be okay if this happens because I know I'll take care of it in another way. So it's putting in basically contingency plans within yourself of how you can take care of yourself, of your family, of your own priorities, and making sure that your boss or your employer knows it as well. Next is making sure you track everything. Now, when you're a virtual assistant, the day-to-day, what that looks like, some of it is just mostly repetitive. Some of it is just making sure that your client's business or their personal life is running without them, that they're not too stressed about everything else. So having a tracker on your tasks, your outcomes, your projects, the things that you're working on, notes about what your client's preferences are, if you're managing their travel, for example, that they like, aisle seats when it's a short flight, window seat when it's a longer flight, whatever that looks like for them. But it's getting to a point where you have a really good organization note system for yourself and for your client, of course, so then you don't have to rely on your own memory of how things were, because it could be that a year from now you had to take care of something the same way. So perfect example, of course, is, let's say it's your boss's anniversary with their wife or their husband, and you took care of the reservations and all of that. If you are able to track it and actually write down what were the things that you did, it's going to be easy for you to remember basically the next time that this happens, guidance for the next year for their anniversary of what to set up and what their preferences are. Again, it's making sure that you have a way, you basically have an extended second brain for yourself as you are your client's second brain of how you can keep track of the things that need to happen, the things that need to get done, and what has happened as well. So it's having, again, a good task organization system, a project system, having a note system. So again, it's easy for you to recall. I'm putting air quotes because you're not really the one remembering, but it's easy for you to call back the things that you need at the very particular moment. And with this, you can then start building your confidence with wins. Now, when you're a virtual assistant, it's so easy. And I've seen so many of our own assistants in 2XU go through this, where they go through a little bit of an imposter syndrome of like, even though they've been working with their client for like a year or two now, they're still going through this doubt of like, am I doing the right things? Am I this kind of person? Am I actually the right fit for this client? Track your wins, track the things, or keep snippets of like little praises from your client. I know we do this in 2XU for our own EAs of like just taking snippets of like, hey, you did a good job, or this looked amazing. So then anytime that you feel down or that imposter syndrome kind of creeping on, you can go back and look through like, hey, I've achieved this much. I know that this is the job for me. This is what I love to do. And just gives you a little bit more of that confidence boost moving forward. I understand that when you're a virtual assistant, it's so easy to overthink, to have to make sure that this is done right, but you want to build that confidence within yourself. You want it to be where a year from now, you know what your skills are, you know what you're capable of, so you can keep bringing that in every single day that you work. Next is you need to start thinking about upgrading and tracking your skills. Now, I added the word track in there, not just upgrading your skill, but you need to start tracking what are the skills that you've been learning, what are things that you still need to either hone or get better at, and taking note of them. Like tracking what are the books, what are the courses that have helped you, who are the mentors that have helped you along the way. In the tracking everything part, you want to track as well the things that you've grown into. Again, you want to build that confidence that you're here, that you know what you're doing, you will take feedback and you'll grow into it. But the important part is that you know your own skills, you know what you're building into or who you're becoming. And it's really important that you start looking at like, hey, I really want to get better at, becoming more detail oriented, or I really want to get better at the social media skills, or I want to get better at making sure that I am taking care of my client in this way. So you want to start looking at the skills that you can develop to just be better and better at what it is that you do. Next is you want to make sure that you start creating systems and then teaching them. So what I mean by this is one of the bread and butter when you're a virtual assistant is you'll be helping develop basically systems for your clients. So it's documenting how they're doing what they're doing. It's documenting, how different processes are done in the business. So what I mean by creating systems and then teaching it is you want to start creating documentation, want to start creating the walkthrough and then actually teaching it to someone else, because it's truly through teaching it to someone else you can start seeing if there were flaws, if there were things that were missed. Because most of the time, if you've been doing email management for like 10 years, it's almost automatic in your head. But when you try to teach it to someone else, it's going to be a little bit hard because you have to break down the quick math that you do in your head. So it's then making sure that they can easily understand that. So that's why it's creating systems and then teaching it to someone else. Next, and I know this is harder for some than most, is learning to ask for help. And this is a key thing when you're a virtual assistant, especially if you are just doing it on your own. It's just you and your client. You don't have team members yet. You want to learn how to ask for help from other people, even outside of the organization. So what I mean by this is learning to seek help through forums, through a lot of different Facebook groups that are out there. I'll link one that I really love, which is FH Moms here in the Philippines. It's seeking communities that you can grow into as well, who can show you the path, who can show you different ways of how they've done it, different advice that they can give you, so then it can give you the confidence to keep going on this journey. Next is to communicate well and to get better at communication. Now, I've said this so many times, where one of the key things that often make or break a client and a VA relationship is those communication skills. It's how you can effectively relay things to your client with a lot of clarity so that they don't get confused where a lot of things are. It's being able to receive feedback really well so then you know how to apply it on the next thing that you're doing. It's also being able to listen and just know or understand what it is that your client is asking you to do, rather than guessing and not asking really good questions. So communication is not just about talking, about communicating. It's also asking questions. It's about listening. It's about getting feedback or giving feedback to your client as well. and improving on that relationship that you're building with your client. And of course, to become an amazing virtual assistant, you need to learn how to pay it forward. What I mean by this is helping out that next girl who posts on that Facebook group asking for help. It's helping them out. It's also recognizing other people who might want to have this opportunity for themselves. It could also be that as your client's business grows, hopefully with you, it could be also helping training up basically new members, new teammates basically that you'll have who will have your back. It's by having their back first. It's being able to have this way where you are able to have the cycle come full circle, where you're helping other people who are getting started on their journey as best as you can. Because just because right now you feel like you're just a level 5 out of 10 in becoming a virtual assistant, there are people who are at level 1, 2, 3, 4 who need your help. Becoming an amazing virtual assistant doesn't have to be that you are earning a lot or that you have bajillion skills on your tool belt. It's all about starting with where you are at and improving within yourself, and always having your goals to look forward to, and to just, again, growing yourself to become who you want to be. Now, if you guys like this video, of course, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what are the ways that you're growing yourself as a virtual assistant. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those 2 playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!